Hey folks, today is September 1, 2022. Going to be putting out the version 6 mobile app today. It's actually 6 years since we put out version 1 mobile app, hilariously. So let's get this going. We're going to investigate a bug or two. We fixed that one. Someone said they had a problem with the most recent update. Not showing anything on the end of the channels. So we kind of redid our chat system using Nostr. This thread kind of has a little video walkthrough of that. Pushed it out stupidly to iOS and Android without testing on an Android device. Turns out the crypto libraries that the Android wanted to use didn't work. There's like a shim for supporting native BigInt on iOS that I assumed would also work on Android, but it did not. So it took a while to kind of replace that. But we got that working now for Android. Android and iOS both work. The issues now are mostly around optimization of how and when we're pulling messages from Nostr. Merged this PR yesterday. The Noble. So this will be like a little bit of developer update with some technical details, but I'll try to keep it mostly understandable for non-developers. The main library that we use to communicate with Nostr is a JavaScript library called Nostr Tools that relies on this Noble. This is like a suite of cryptographic libraries for the protocols that are needed for example, Nostr NIP 6, how we do key-based login. This uses BIP39 for the mnemonic seed words, BIP32 with a particular derivation path. It's like a multi-sig type situation, but using a specific derivation path. So I guess the keys are always the same, given the same seed. And then those libraries use Noble hashes, and then there's Noble also has a SegP 256K curve that we use for the encryption and decryption of messages. This library did not work out of the box with React Native because it expects this like native BigInt support. And so this is like a whole thing, and apparently the next version of React, I heard somewhere that the next version of React Native version 70, we're on 69 now, will have native support for this BigInt. So basically in JavaScript, like numbers can only go up to a certain amount, like a maximum integer size, and the type of integer that we need for elliptic curve math, for elliptic curve cryptography that powers Bitcoin, and doing like Bitcoin adjacent calculations requires larger integers. So there's these libraries relating to BigInt, big integers, and the original library we were using was a fork of Noble SegP from Alephium that supposedly added support for React Native. It worked in iOS but not in Android, and there may be something that could have gotten it to work if there were some more. Anyways, was able to fix that by replacing the Noble libraries with bitcoinjs lib. Has its own BIP32, 39 libraries. And then Gagero, who's a developer, I think he's with Lightning Labs, wrote a bip-schnorr for the schnorr signatures that usually we rely on the SegP library for. Anyway, so this now works, and the full kind of flow of sending chat messages and encrypting them and decrypting them and all the kind of basic cryptographic primitives that we need to interact with the Nostr protocol are all working fine. There are some issues just with kind of how we're not properly handling subscriptions that I'm going to be fixing like in this video, hopefully. And then that'll be sort of like the final build, and going to push that out to the app stores today for iOS and Android, and it'll take a day or so for those to be approved. But yeah, and if you kind of missed the previous video earlier in that Twitter thread, we recognize that the product of Arcade fundamentally needs to be a messenger, like it needs to have a really solid chat system. That's the big reason why our Austin network never migrated to the apps that we've put out, is because we haven't been able to replicate the functionality that they depend on Facebook for, having the different driver groups kind of be able to chat with each other in different semi-public feeds or semi-private feeds or private feeds, or like message chains of all the drivers who are up north of Austin that they trade ride requests around. And, conceivably we could have people just continue to use those kinds of chat apps, but the vision that we're going for on the product side is to basically be the WeChat of Bitcoin, where WeChat began as a messenger, and they added support for all sorts of kind of gig economy services, rides, deliveries, movie tickets, all sorts of things, and marketplaces inside of this one app. Chat is the basis of that. Chat is the kind of minimum functionality necessary for people to be able to find each other and meaningfully interact with each other. On the finding piece, the kind of discoverability piece comes in interestingly. Like, that's something that we'll kind of have to develop a separate strategy for. Some apps, like, just been looking recently into this app called Zenly, and I'll have some comments on that, maybe a separate video on what I think we can learn from that. But like, their strategy was, you import your contact book and then you invite your friends to join, and then you kind of build your network out of that. Because Arcade, we want to be like facilitating service transactions, like gig service transactions, whether that's rides, deliveries, or other services with people that you don't already know. We do have to solve the question of kind of sort of peer-to-peer discoverability. So I felt it was important to first get chat solid, and to kind of solve this also at the protocol level, so we're not just doing the solutions ourselves. Took a day or two and wrote up this NIP for public chat, and contributed that to the Nostr protocol. It hasn't been like formally merged to the protocol yet, but people are starting to use it. So just defining new event kinds for public chat channels, channel messages, basic client-side moderation with some new event kinds. And it's been really awesome to see Nostr developers like Brill, Satin, for one example, creating this Nostr-based chat client called Anigma, web client, kind of a Telegram clone. And, if you remember from the earlier video I mentioned where I kind of demoed the chat channels that we had, this Bitcoin channel, for example, this was created by me a week or so ago as one of the first 4 channels of Arcade. There it is. See the image there. And that was just an event kind 40 channel create that then, Brill had that be the main default channel when you join Anigma. And so everyone's kind of chatting in this channel that then when you go in to the Arcade app, you see that same conversation in this channel. So the out-of-the-box, easy interoperability of multiple clients or apps being able to have this sort of like universal chat space, that's freaking huge. And then different clients will kind of, build out their own features. For example, Brill just added embedded YouTube videos and like emojis and images and stuff like that, and that's not yet in the mobile client. I'm pretty sure this is all just JavaScript, and our React Native app is JavaScript, so I should be able to like pull certain of the code from the Anigma codebase into the React Native codebase. But that's just generally the idea that like we're all going to be able to build out a much larger network with more code reusability and like get stuff built out generally quicker, faster, better, because we took a little bit of extra time to kind of sync up with the broader protocol landscape in the beginning. So that first NIP was sort of like, okay, chat is sort of like the important thing to kind of get this sort of as the basis of our app. And then the other things that I was talking about with SuperTestNet, Nostr developer, on the Bullrun protocol that we talked about previously, that may become a NIP at some point soon, which that for now lives in one of our repos here, I think. Yeah. So yeah, open protocol for peer-to-peer services powered by Bitcoin and Nostr with event kind 60. Kind of like a feed here. And one thing I was talking about with Super was adapting this like open source protocol for location geohashing. I guess Uber initially developed and then open source for how you can represent user locations at different zoom levels. So for example, you could have an approximate location shared, like, you know, if you're trying to say, I need a ride from this general neighborhood to, East Austin. You don't have to share your exact location with everyone, around the world, because these are public kind of broadcast channels. But then once there's a handshake between rider and driver, and you like approve, you select the driver that you want to send that. Thank you. To then there can be an encrypted DM, another Nostr protocol, NIP4, where you're sending the more precise data directly to that person. So that's something that we'll build out soon. But the point is that the chat and sort of basic social primitives are kind of like an important piece for multiple projects to be able to speak all kind of simultaneously. And then we want to add to that sort of this like kind of like location based focus. And just in a second, I'll get into the weeds of code and some kind of bug fixes. But on the like theme of location-based social or location-based chat, it's been pretty fascinating to watch. I guess yesterday or so, Snap, the company behind Snapchat, they laid off like 20% of their workforce, like massive cuts. And there's they own this company that they acquired in 2017 called Zenly, like based in France. And they've got 40 million monthly active users of this quote-unquote location-based social app. Not popular in the US. I've never heard of it or used it before, but very popular in other areas. And, I downloaded the app. It's absolutely gorgeous. The UX, the UI. There's some interesting things that I noted, like they had some blog post. Let me see if I can find it. They had this whole idea about like they're going to roll out their own map, and they kind of put up this whole like 3D proof of concept thing. Maybe it was more than a proof of concept. This was in May. But then the app that I downloaded yesterday, like when you zoom in, at the very bottom it says Apple Maps. It's like, it's interesting because we have kind of also been wanting to do this like our own 3D map, and I had tweeted previously about, and you can kind of see it in there, the 3D map in the background. It's harder to do things that way because the API isn't as developed or supported to the extent that like the Expo wrapper of React Native on mobile works really well out of the box with the Google or Apple and Maps. There's like a little bit more work to get things up to speed, but I don't know if they like backed off that. Anyway, we're going to be like learning a bunch from this Zenly thing. So they've got amazing UX. Their use case is a little bit more like just sharing info with your friends about what you're doing and discoverability of like events and stuff near you, which is okay. Created a 3D engine from scratch. Everything is custom made. It's a fully cross-platform engine in low-level C and C++ code. Okay. Well, this is very interesting. I've been learning a little bit of C++ on the computer behind me for Unreal Engine. As an aside, we had talked about doing a future version of the arcade app in a game engine like Unity or Unreal. We almost did that for the version 6 app. Kind of decided to do at least one more major version in React Native. The version 7 app next year, and we'll need some more people and stuff funding involved to get that played. But it's fascinating to learn about this. But it's interesting that like when I opened the app, they were using just Apple Maps. Anyway, we might see if there's some kind of like location-based social features that we can harvest from Zenly. But generally, yeah, we want to use that map and draw beautiful routes on top of it for and like optionally put 3D models on. This is the 3D map framework that we're working with, adapted originally from. Let me move my face here. HarpGL. Yeah. So let me see if this is still up or if I deleted it. Yeah. So this 3D map, this is, the arcade color scheme. This is a map of Manhattan. Then you can zoom out. I don't think I can alter the tilt level right now. It's like stuck to 45. But yeah, when you zoom into a certain level, it'll pop up it'll render all of the buildings in 3D. This is built. There's a framework called HarpGL, which is itself is sort of like a map-based wrapper on top of 3JS, which is the most popular like JavaScript-based map library. That was Zenly. What? That's funny. I remember clicking on that previously. I didn't even know that was Zenly. I had just talked about that. I just clicked on that site because I saw a beautiful globe. Okay, interesting. So these are just like the 3JS example things. And they did that in 3JS. So they're about to shut this down. That's pretty fascinating. Well, we as Arcade City are well positioned to do a location-based social app. So we're going to have some fun with this. What do they got here? Exploring Mars. All right, whatever. Okay. So the company behind HarpGL is shutting down, or rather, they decided to fold the previously open source HarpGL codebase into their like commercial product offering, and are discontinuing support for the open source code, which we will continue using. And then this map is where we're able to put arbitrary 3D models on top of. So this is like the Bitcoin image here. I just pasted that on in Photoshop, but this image of Jane Ryder or whatever, that's actually in the world. And then that is an actual route from the HarpGL route directions thing, kind of like Mapbox, like the direction route. So we have all of that. It's just a question of like time, and is it the best use of our time to be like trying to re-implement kind of map-based primitives in Harp, or should we do what apparently Zenly did too, which is they had kind of built up their own stuff, but their app, at least as of me downloading it yesterday, it uses the Apple Maps, not even the 3D stuff, or maybe they use 3D stuff for some view. Anyway, so we've got some like trade-offs, decisions to make about what we release when, and then might also be worth showing. Anyway, one of these, scroll down and up there, you'll see like, yeah, here we go.
Here is a simple demo looping through the most recent Bullrun ride requests, pulling it from Nostr in a standalone web app. I gotta fix that styling.
Yeah, so the idea is we want to just increasingly have like data pulled from these public protocol-driven Nostr relays and visualized in beautiful ways in like a cross-platform map accessible on web or mobile, and then letting people interact and connect peer-to-peer in a way that's like open that other clients can use. And then I hope that we can kind of at Arcade like really focus on sort of what the location-based aspects of that will be. I mean, we may end up, I don't know. We've got some product decisions to make. But, I'm excited to, finally just push out the app. It's not anywhere close to, feature complete for all the like stuff that we want to put in. And we've got a lot more work to do on it, but we may as well just put the app out because it's got some basic functionality that's useful to people, and then just collect more informed user feedback. finally, it's probably worth kind of popping over to this roadmap where people have voted on different features, and there's some cool things here with little, I wrote maybe half of these, and half of these are contributed by users, and then people can vote on them. So the second highest voted one says apps tab for Uber, iFood, Airbnb, airline tickets, hotels, and travel e-commerce. Gideon says, I believe it can become a multi-purpose app for moving people, goods, food, or rentals. Give the opportunity for several entrepreneurs and consumers to have access to several services that accept Bitcoin as a single, easy-to-use platform with qualification, famous stars, and verification for entrepreneurs who want to register. That's an excellent idea and kind of jives with what I've begun recently to describe as a product vision of Arcade as like the WeChat for Bitcoin, or the WeChat for the Lightning powered decentralized web. One thing that we've learned from our Austin network is that when you solve the problem of trust in a peer-to-peer transaction that is as difficult as rideshare, where you're trusting someone enough to get into their car late at night, you don't know them, and there's no big, well-funded company to complain to if something goes wrong. Like, we've solved that definitively in Austin through short answer, properly incentivized community. But that same set of solutions can apply toward other peer-to-peer services. For example, our Austin network organically added support for peer-to-peer deliveries. There have been a couple of peer-to-peer home shares. There's a lot of like peer-to-peer locksmithing. What else? Like pest extermination. It's really cool to see that just organically added with no like ideas given to them from corporate. It's all just kind of organically added. And so, I don't see any reason to limit ourselves to rideshare. We want to be the omniapp is the idea. While also kind of, Jack Dorsey had a tweet a few days ago about his one of his regrets about Twitter was having it turn into a company, and the preference, if he could do it again, would be to do it as a protocol. We want to build a company. I want to make money, but I don't want to do kind of meaningless rent seeking. Want to make a living, but generally build up a really healthy, decentralized, like application platform anchored to Bitcoin and using Bitcoin and Lightning for the payments in the right ways, but absorbing all these use cases that, there should not be a decentralized chain for decentralized Airbnb or hotels. Like, all this can be solved, a lot of it at the protocol level, and then kind of building layers on top of that. Anyway, so that's kind of a direction we're going to go. And it's been really fascinating also to see that the top voted item was a post that I wrote on peer-to-peer identity vouching. So I said, a user with a new profile could build trust by getting people they know to vouch for them, which could take the form of a service review. Joe gave me a ride and it was awesome. Or verifying that a person's profile picture is actually of them. I know them, saw them in real life. Something community-driven like this is important for a decentralized marketplace like ours, in which there will not be a central authority vouching for everyone's identity. We don't want to collect anyone's driver's licenses, etc. Though maybe an ID verifier guild could form to specialize in that, like all opt-in if people cared about getting that credential. Some of the feedback, Kanza, incredibly hard node to all state-based ID systems. I agree with you philosophically, and there will be some guilds that may choose to care about that. One of the requests from one of our Brazil drivers at one point was like, they want riders to be identified and vetted because there's unique safety issues, for example, in Brazil. And you can envision that there will be some guilds that have that as part of their joining process, but completely optional. And if there's no guild in your area that doesn't have the policies that you like, you have the freedom to build your own. We want to support an open marketplace for competitive governance. Leandro says, one idea is to use a signed message with a Bitcoin address, and this can be integrated into a reputation system. This record can even replace the centralized driver's license as a whole. I like that. We'll want to, at some point, look more into the idea of verifiable credentials. This web standard from Block, because, not from Block, Block's working on it, but that is definitely going to be relevant to these things, keys and reputation system. Harpreet says, I'm currently an Uber driver, and this is something I periodically emphasize in the Uber feedback app. As a driver, I also want to be safe, and the identity of drivers and riders should all be vetted if we want a safe, thriving civilization to prosper in the future. Yeah. I think some combination of, allowing people to have crowdsourced or community-driven processes in place for identification of whatever forms they want, or if it's like you have to meet 3 of our members in person. So this is something like, and this may even work its way into like a Nostr NIP at some point for like what a vouch looks like, or are there some primitives for building up a web of trust that should be sort of formalized at the protocol level, like we did with chat and are about to do with some form of kind of location hashing. All of this is sort of open-ended, in development, needing of feedback and testing and stuff. But if you have ideas on any of this, feel free to jump into the comment section at roadmap.rk.city or tweet at us. Cool. Okay. That's a pretty mostly solid introduction for where we're at. Let's do a little bit of coding here. I'm going to pause for some food. Okay, let's pop open an emulator and see if we can debug some of the channel issues we're having. So let's do this as a new branch. Nostr fixes. And this code that I'm working on, like anyone can pull this down. Don't have a README up yet. Yeah, so we had the Expo app originally as part of this mono repo, and was just kind of tedious debugging some interesting. It adds a little bit of friction to have everything in one repo with some tsconfig and other configuration weirdness. Some code will live there, but for now, just kind of extracted the app code into a separate code base, and we'll add a README at some point. But you can go into the scripts. If you're a JavaScript developer, you should be able to figure out running yarn and yarn start. All right, so I'm opening up an iOS emulator, and we'll open up Reactotron. Reactotron, for those who don't know, it's just like amazing developer console. Way better than logging stuff to the regular console because you can inspect. I don't think of any you can like put properties there. And there's my private key if you want to steal that. Demo account, LOL. And then you've also got a real-time view of the state. So we use Maverick State Tree for global state. There's our store of all the events. I can look inside and inspect them. Those are all the events in the format that we get from Nostr. Okay. So, yeah. If there's like a list I should have of minor UI things, one thing I gotta do is figure out how I want to do like triaging bugs, aside from just little notepads that I have right now. But like the white flash from the map is because this is a web view loading in the the same map demo I showed you earlier, and there's like a screen fade in, and anyway, that's just some like UI animation that doesn't really matter, but a visual thing that we need to fix. All right, so let's go in and let's see what happens if we start with a new account. I need to take a closer look at the circumstances in which I'm subscribing. Leo! Hi, sending from Arcade City. Testy. Alright. Hi, Leo. Now, I don't know. Yeah. Okay, I think that's the main issue. I had previously had sort of an open-ended subscription to all kind 42s. And then I replaced that with only subscribing. Yeah, I never subscribed. Actually, I think I closed the subscription. Okay. So previously I had like one large kind of subscription for all like kind 42 events, which are channel messages, run once during the connection. But then what would happen is it would pull like the most recent like 50 events or whatever, and it would display new ones as they come in, but that wouldn't show you a full channel history. Because if you go into a channel, it might show you, of those like 50 events that you pulled, it might pull show 5 in that channel, but you want to be able to scroll up. So there's a lot of the kind of like more sophisticated algorithms for fetching from the client that just we haven't had the time to put in. But one thing that I forgot to do when we implemented the channel, so in this update, different from the previous update, if you're like on iOS and you use the previous one, we're now, when you open up this channel, if there's no messages, it goes and fetches message from that channel, and I think it fetches more, like, I don't know, we'll see how many exactly it fetches. But the problem is I close the subscription so it doesn't get new events. So this is why we beta test. So let's go into the component for the chat room, and let me see if I can remember. Is it message list? Okay. So in the message list component, so this right here is the message list component. And this is like not even the best algorithm to use. All of this is just kind of like simple for now, and will evolve over time. But we're saying if there's no messages in this channel, then fetch the messages with this channel ID. The channel ID is the ID of the event 40. That's according to the NIP 28 spec that I wrote. LOL. Okay, fetch messages. Let's check this. Uh-oh. Fetch messages does not exist. Why does it say that? Okay, that's probably just left over from... Sometimes there's like these lingering type issues when I pull in a different branch and it just hasn't re-notified. Okay. Fetch messages. So the display is a convenience function from our lib here that logs it to the Reactotron with some cool data. So we're doing fetch messages, and you can see that message here, fetching messages for channel that. Here's the callback function, and then here's the subscription. Yeah, so we're pulling the most recent 25 messages with this channel ID. See, now this is something I don't understand. Why is it only showing 2 messages here if I said limit of 25? Oh. So one possibility is I'm unsubscribing after 1 second. So then another issue with this and using these like JavaScript SecP libraries is that the encryption or like the checking of each message to validate it, it requires a cryptographic function, which because we're using a JavaScript only SecP library kind of ties up the JavaScript thread for a little bit. So it takes like, I don't know how many tens or hundreds of milliseconds to do. And so this just might not have had time to parse more than those messages. That's another thing that when I start really diving into optimization, I may or may not get to it today. But in the relay pool, for example, that Fiat wrote, I think it's validating every message as they come in. And I don't know, things might just be going too slow. And I can also see down here, I've got duplicate IDs. So there's something with the subscriptions that I'm not initializing properly. Okay, so let's try something. Let's remove the unsubscription and refresh to see if that fixes. There's our feed of random. This is just the public feed of like whatever people are putting. Share, BitChute. So you got videos, you got Bitcoin block mining notifications, whale transfers, Bible verses, Rumble video, and some chatting. Cool. Yeah, we will be replacing or removing or upgrading this in some way. It's just kind of cool to see. So let's go into Bitcoin and see what the hell happens. Now, right now, we're not even calling this again because our logic here is that we say if there's 0 messages. Okay. Let's replace this for now with always fetch and do it once when the component renders. Don't do it when messages changes. So, oops. Bitcoin. Oh, okay. So, well, yeah, but why is it not returning older messages? Okay, so one thing I like to do with this channel, like I know that this one is on Anigma. Let's go to Anigma. Okay, one unread, hi Leo. Is this going to pull my metadata? Here, I'm fast. Yeah, there we go. wait. It got my picture, but not my username. Oh. There's a difference between like username and display name, and Enigma is showing one and we're showing a different one. Because I named it that, but then also that. Interesting. So I will get with Braille at some point and harmonize that or figure out who's wrong. Okay, now. So that kind of invalidates my idea that this was being unsubscribed before processing older, like processing more events, because it's still only showing since then. Why is that? Why? Let's take another look at fetch messages. We're filtering by kinds42 with a limit of. It might have to do with how limit is being used. if it runs like a limit query before filtering by something else. Or do I need to be putting this into a separate object? I might just be like messing up the API. So first of all, let's try this. Let's just remove the limit and see what happens. Do I need to refresh this? Yeah, because I need to make the hook run again. There we go. Why did that take a while? Well, that's a lot of testing. Okay, another error or like weirdness is that if there's no image, I display this placeholder, but it displays a new one every time components re-render. And I've got way excessive user metadata being retrieved. Okay, I guess it's returning messages from the beginning of time because these messages are for 9 days ago. And then it's fetching a ton of events that are not even rendering messages here, so it's fetching other events. But it's supposed to be for this channel, so why is it? Alright, I should figure out why it's calling fetch users so many times. And am I retrieving these same events over and over and over and over and over? Okay, so let's stop this. Sorry, William, if I'm spamming the hell out of your relay. And I think I'm going to have to close this. Yep. Okay. Let's figure out the logic where I'm calling fetch user. Okay. All right, so yeah, I wrote this like a week ago, so I just got to refamiliarize. So this is our horribly non-optimized way to fetch user metadata for the events we got. Check all user metadata, and then remind me, when are we calling? Okay, we're calling it once, I think. Correct? Let me search here. Okay. Well, it fell off of our log, but probably it's only calling it once. Let's just make sure it's not being called anywhere else. Okay. So 3 seconds after we join, we call check all metadata. First, we build an array of unique pub keys from the kinds we care about. For now, just channel message. And then this checking. Yeah, it's one peeve about Reactotron is that this log does not go down very far. Yeah, there was activity. I think, yeah, so self-fetch user. Oh, you know what? I seem to remember previously this lagging. It seemed to like tie up the thread. Maybe it shouldn't do that. Yeah. But I'm probably gonna need to change this anyways. So, if you're not a developer, troubleshooting problematic code bases, bugs, sometimes it's just kind of learning, like changing minor things a little bit, studying what happens, like learning about the system, through breaking it in different ways. Okay, I didn't expect that to do much changes. I was just curious to see if that changed much of anything. I'd also like to know exactly what subscribe calls. So I've just got a slew of events coming in, and this is another thing. I don't know if I want. So what I'm accustomed to, and one thing that's new about Nostr is like you're getting all this data from WebSocket connections, and so you just got all these these events streaming in. But I don't fully know why that is preferable to what I'm used to, which is calling an API and getting a big blob of 100 or so events in one chunk. I would imagine it has something to do with like we're using WebSocket connection and like wanting to do everything through one pipe and not have multiple things. And I get that, but and that's interesting. Maximum concurrent subscription count reached. All right, sorry, Damas, I'm probably fucking up something there. So one thing that I'm thinking that would be useful is to have kind of like some previously in the Nostr group had been talking about building like an indexing node that can pull in a ton of events from different Nostr relays and have it more easily accessible, maybe with like a GraphQL API, or you can imagine there's like a graph database that makes queries really fast and easy with more complex query types. That may be something that we end up building. I don't expect this to all be like perfect right now. I do want to get it such that you can like clearly see events that you send and optimize a bit of the like avoiding some of this duplicative user fetching. Okay, let me take a look at the first X fetching metadata here to see if there's any duplication. Let's not share all my shit here. All right, that's fine. No, that was not what I wanted. So question. Are we fetching this event a second time? No. Are we fetching this event a second time? No. Okay, so it looks like we're fetching an event for metadata event for all pub keys. I don't care about all pub keys. Okay, here's what I'm going to do for now. I'm going to not check all user metadata. I'm going to redo that algorithm, probably. Let me see if that makes this easier. Okay, so the events that it starts with are from us rehydrating the same state as previous. Now, what are these events coming in? What did I subscribe to? Oh, is it because I'm in the channel view? This is from the message list being unlimited. Now, let me also... Are these really all from this same... Can I look at this? Is this from this channel? Oh, that's annoying. Stop. Stop, I say. so one question. I'm looking at Bitcoin. I should be subscribed to those things. Are these all from that channel? Channel of F06, and I hard coded that somewhere else. Yes. Okay, so what if I'm mid-sente? All right, I'm guessing that's people testing the Anigma client. I just see this channel in my last DM on the PWA, both on desktop and mobile. Yeah, that's people testing Anigma, but using this same. Okay, so what's happening right now is we're just pulling a shit ton of events from the Bitcoin channel. That's as it should be. But what I wanted to do is limit it. Now the hope is that this would limit it to like the most recent 25. I might need to combine filters. But then the other thing is that I don't know exactly what the relay pool API is for this vis-a-vis the NIP1 pool. So let's start with NIP1. So for filters, a JSON object. When limit is present, it is assumed that the events returned in the initial query will be the latest n events. It is safe to return less events than limit specifies, but it is expected that relays do not return much more events than requested so clients don't get unnecessarily overwhelmed by data. Okay, so I'm going to try this again with a limit of 25 and see what events I get. Come on. Maximum concurrent subscription count reached. I'm gonna guess that the pool util is doing something that I don't expect. Because this went straight into max concurrent subscription count reached. Okay. Let's go look at the pool. Now, the idea behind this library is that so developers don't have to care about the subscription logic. Because it's got reasonable defaults. But I don't think reasonable defaults are going to work for us. Or I'm just ignorant of something that maybe we'll learn here. Okay. So you can see in the Nostr library over here, a bunch of these things are in TypeScript. Those are ones that I sort of edited. This keys file is pretty interesting because this is one of the functions that I had to rewrite to not use the noble bip-schnorr library. This instead uses the bip-schnorr library from Gogero. Super straightforward point multiplication to get the public key of a given private key. So I was able to figure that out, and it works. But that's code that's new. Most of this is adapted from Nostr tools, but pulling in our own version and adding types. Bets32 to support the npub nsec address format that Damus uses. This is our replacement of BIP32. We were able to use this tiny SecP library for the elliptic curve calculations. And then using the tiny SecP v1 doesn't include schnorr. The v2 that most people use when they use tiny uses schnorr. But that's where the big int stuff comes into play, and that's where we had to use. So basically, this library, the v1 that doesn't have schnorr, works for certain, BIP32 type of things. Did we have to shim that? Shimmed it to add buffer. Yeah, that's it. Okay, anyway, so interesting stuff in the Nostr channel, the Nostr lib here. But the stuff that I did not edit is the stuff that's still in JavaScript. And the main code that we care about, actually that might be worth looking at too, match filters. Main stuff we care about is in pool and relay, because there's just like a crap ton of subscriptions that are being saved that I might need to clear them out. So first of all, let's see where we're initializing this. So we have a Nostr class that we init where we create a pool. This is sort of like standard logic, like how you're supposed to consume that library. We throw it into a class for persisting the keys here. Potential problem, I gotta look more into the pool relay code, but like every time I refresh the app, it's initializing the Nostr class, it's like initializing a new pool, adding the pool. Alright, so we create a new relay pool. Let's go see what's going on here. It creates new this. Active subscriptions. Might be interesting to inspect that. Let's see, where can I inspect this? Where does it, don't we like loop through it? Yeah, here. No. Does it matter that we're never removing the relay? So I could inspect active subscriptions here. But I'm not even worried about publishing right now. I just want to see. Let's see what this does. Oh. Oh. Okay. I see. Alright, yeah, I was thinking there might be a problem with relay subscriptions being persisted in pool somehow. But the maximum concurrent subscription count, because I was just looking at the console logs, like generally the pool logs to the console. I'm logging to Reactotron primarily. And so the sub counts, which I wasn't looking at Reactotron. It's the user fetching, and I think now the problem is, yeah, it's calling. Previously, when I had the delay, it seemed like it was tying up the thread. Yeah, so basically, in the span of like before. What's happening is that it's subscribing for each user, and it's not waiting the 1 second to unsubscribe before fetching it from the next user. Like, let's confirm that. Let's try a 250-second delay. Still. Why? Is this not long enough of a delay? Oh. Okay. Get user metadata. If it's like, yeah, we're fetching user. We're not awaiting for it. No. When is this called? That's fine. This is a view. Yeah, I think it's little kind of shortcuts for when or how I pull fetch user data in. So let me just try this real quick. Yeah. Now, I don't know if these can be async. Let's try it. Yeah, so basically it's calling this view, and it wasn't like awaiting. It wasn't like looping through with the await. It was just calling this, so like the delay didn't matter because it was still running all of these at the same time. Let me just see what this does. We're not skipping it. Oh. That actually still doesn't matter because it's not looping. Where are we calling get user metadata? Okay. So the problem here is I got too clever with this view should really just be a pure getter, like only show the data in the tree, but I made it also fetch the user via subscription if it wasn't there. So that's just like something smelly from moving too fast. And now it doesn't like that that's a promise, which I'm going to remove anyways. So, all right, let's go depromisify that. Basically, I need to move the fetch user metadata call somewhere else. Let me handle that separately from, let me just get the kind of the messages. Oops. Okay, looky there. All right, we've got we've got the messages rendering without blowing up. Yeah, you know, gotta do some new optimizations to get like this virtualized list error out. Okay, so the question is, what I'm going for right now is getting message sending to work. Like that thing is annoying, but that's not a deal breaker. Let's see if this works. Test. Okay, event was published, but I have not subscribed to that event. So, now that I've fixed the metadata weirdness, where was I? Oh yeah, let's actually fetch the messages. And let's just do it once when we render it. Maybe that matters. Test, all right. World chat. Now do we stay subscribed? Ta-da! Okay. Now, some issues there with how large storage of limit 25. There's way more than 25 events there. Is that because they're left over? Okay, so I'm going to go clear the entire root tree so it stops pulling from local storage. Or it'll try to pull from local storage, but it looks up by this storage key, which is currently empty. And let's make a new account. And let's go into Bitcoin. Okay, now, still, I'm only seeing recent events from Arcade. I wonder if Bro is looking for the erroneous tag syntax that I had previously used. Or if I've... Okay. Tag is supposed to be a naked E. But in the filter, it's a hashtag E. In a previous build, the first build 5, I was sending tag hashtag E from the Arcade app. So a bunch of the initial kind 42s had an extra hashtag. I fixed that, but I wonder if that's why. Why am I not seeing the other events? Let's first of all, let's see if they're in here. If it's an issue fetching from the relay or formatting them. Hi, City from Arcade City, we see that one. Test Day, we see that one. Hi, Leo, we see that one. Okay, that's a kind 1. That shows up here. Kind 1, kind 1, kind 1, kind 1, kind 1. Okay, all of the other messages that we have, except for, well, you've got the kind 40s that create the channel. You've got the kind 1s, because I pull in like 15 messages to populate the public feed. I only have 3 kind 42s. Why? Let's try raising the limit. Okay. That gets me more. But look. Only 6 events. I said 50. What's going on? This could be an issue with how the relay manages filters. Like, is it first finding 50 events and then filtering it down to the kind 42? This, I don't know. This, I might need to dig into relay code. You know, I'm using the Damus relay still. Might see what Damus is doing. Let's try a limit of 75. Should I unsub after a second? No, I should not unsub after a second. Okay, well, that gets at least some messages. So, some optimizing to do. But messages are showing. And okay. Yeah, I think it's not showing the previous. I don't know. Well, potentially peril of. Oh, now we're not getting any metadata. Or are we? Let me go back to here and do this once. Where was it? Let's do this once. That might be good enough for now. 1, 2, 3. Fetching. Okay. Yeah, let's decrease the timeout there. So that's not horrible. It's far from ideal, but you know, it's a working chat client for a protocol we invented over the last 2 weeks. So that's not too bad. Okay, so people can chat, people can do their key stuff. Let's test the logout and sec, blah blah blah, woof woof woof. Woof 1212. I gotta fix that annoying thing. Enter access code. Paste. Do we have woof woof woof? Woof 1111. Come in. Oh. So this is not calling again because we logged out, and we really need this to re-render when the user logs in again. What can I put in the parameter here? So let's pull in user, and we'll say whenever user authed, and if we're not authed, I think I have unsubscription logic handled somewhere else, so let's just return. No, I can't return. Oh wait, that doesn't go there. That goes here. Alright, let's try that again. If I grab my keys and log out. If I log in, I have woof woof woof. If I log out again, that goes back to there, no information. Okay, that did not work. Why? Checking 8 events, 0 filtered for user metadata. Oh, okay, I see. This is only checking for all users that have sent messages, not this user. So I'm guessing that if I say, if I do this, and then if I do that again, log out. I'm guessing now it'll fetch, but that's because there's a message. And what I need to do is find the logic. No? Or are we just waiting? Checking 9 events, 0 filtered. What's going on? Oh. Okay. like that should have worked, but because all the events aren't loaded yet, I had decreased this 3 to 1.5. Maybe we actually need the 3 seconds to load. Oh, this is fun. It is fun. I'm just kind of stabbing around. Areas for improvement. Okay, there's that. I had to wait the extra second and a half for things to load. Okay. But yeah, I think there we just didn't even wait long enough. I previously had this as a use interval, so it would load eventually. But I don't want it to be a use interval. Okay. Well, instead of waiting for messages to load and doing it off that, I should, that's not what I'm trying to get anyway. Somewhere I have the other place I call fetch user is after we log in. Here we go. Log in with NSEC. Fetch user, self-public history. Shouldn't this work? Alright, what is my public key? My public key is 827. Do I call fetch user with 827? I do. Yeah, like once at login, and then probably once. 17 seconds later. Let's try this again. It has not fetched it. It is still not fetched it. I've got Vishal's info here. I want my info. Where's my info? Oh, that time I did not log in with NSEC. Okay, but this is the idea that I want. On like regular init. Alright, here's what I want to do. That gets everyone's metadata. I want my metadata. Okay. And do I need to wait, or can I do it right away? Please work. Sometimes you just gotta ask nicely. Okay. Now, does that work regardless of whether or not I've sent a message? Log out, I don't care about the account. Join, blah, 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 blah. Now, of course that's there. 2F31. Grab my key. Log out. Or do I need there to be a delay? Boom! Okay, nice. And Arcade City can do. Yeah. Okay. And the Bitcoin thing loads. Yeah. I don't know why it doesn't load more messages, but I'll cry about it later. Wait, yeah. Alright, I'm gonna call that good for now. Like, there's basic functionality. I'm sad that, like, you know, we had all these other beta builds where, like, LNPay, or not LNPay, LNbits and Lightning Wallet integration, a bunch of cool stuff that I just don't know, because that was using our, like, client-server model and our back-end API, and, like, people are now starting to work on this for Nostr, but I don't know. I got to see what the time that's going to take and whether I should use what we've done previously or do the Nostr version of it. anyways. Yeah, like beta build 3.
Hey folks, so we've got chat working fine. If not, you want to load some sats.
Yeah, we got gorgeous wallet and yada yada yada. We'll pull this stuff back in, but hopefully nosterized. But if it's not, whatever. Okay, so I'm gonna call this good. Let's commit this to. Should I force people to? Yeah, that's fine. So let's just some GitHub commits. Update, persistence, key. I don't really need to do that there. All right, let's describe these things. So message list, for now, this is going to fetch messages every time, and I don't know if that's the best way to do it. We got to do more advanced algorithms with like pulling from caching and not hitting relays more than we need to, but for now, we'll just call it a good stress test. Okay, clean up message list. And fetch user, what do we change here? Yeah, I guess that maybe that didn't tie up the thread. But let's get rid of some of these. So, that undid the change entirely, or the change from the previous script. All right, fetch messages. What are we doing there? We're not unsubscribing. I don't want to unsubscribe because I want to keep listening. Conceivably, if we click away from it, we should unsubscribe. But I'm just going to try to not and see what happens. So we'll call that. What is this? Fetch messages, don't unsub. Use Nostr, do on relogin, and also grab user metadata, like our user metadata. Pool, what did I do here? I'm going to revert this console log, that didn't do anything, and then relay store, yeah. That may have some consequence. I don't care right now. Don't fetch user in user metadata view getter. Okay, and I need to bump the build versions. This will be the final build. I could push this out over the air, and I think I want to test doing that. But I also want people when they download this for the first time to not have to like download an update right away. So I'm going to do new builds for this. Those will be the final builds. Bump build version. But let's test the over there update and see if this can deploy. So I'm going to go on my phone. And this time I will test on both Android and iOS. All right, so I'm opening the latest build via TouchFlight, which is build 48. And this should, I think, if I log out and in, it should still have, it should not show my, oh, I don't think I saved that key. Fortunately, I don't care. We're not attaching any reputation to these things yet, so they don't matter. But let me try this. So, oh, well, yeah, it's tying up the thread from all of the freaking. When it takes a while to click, it's because the JavaScript thread is tied up, probably from the cryptographic operations of it decoding a bunch of the initial feed messages. In fact, that's still an issue. For now. Well, I could even just not subscribe to the feed. Until I click over to the feed. You know what, that's probably smart. 10 less events. This all needs to be optimized. Okay, so let me do one more thing. feed home. Is that the component I'm using? Yeah. This is left over from the ride request demo. Get that out of here. Yeah. So what I want to do is, instead of fetching the feed messages right away, I want to do that only when they open up feed home, so they can kind of see them filter in. Let's see, conceivably I should do that as a separate relay action. So let's go to my relay store and we'll call it fetch feed posts for now. Fetch recent posts from global feed, and it's text post like kind one. What did I say? Fetch feed posts. This is MobX state tree. I like it a lot. A little bit of boilerplate, but keeps things nice and structured. And then we go to relay actions and create that. And export it. Grab this. And I'm just going to move the code from connect to this. And the standard on event, I should not be copy pasting this. I'm going to extract it probably, but I don't care right now. So I can, and if I'm looking at the thing, then maybe I'll like a limit of 20. We'll remove it from connect. I did. And then we will call that in the components feed home once. Okay. So that should speed up the initial load, and let's do persistence. And I might also see if I can fix that animation thing in the front also. Error fetching the Expo development certificate. Some of this stuff, like, what is this? What are you talking about? Sometimes on the bloody, sometimes on the bleeding edge, you get bloody. Expo is awesome, and sometimes there's still little minor bugs and weirdnesses. But that's more of a React Native thing. I mean, Expo is going to have some of that. All right, let's see. Okay. Yep. Way less events pulled in the beginning. That's good. So the only events that we're pulling are the 4 channels that we hard code in, and we're probably also checking user metadata, but this needs to be better optimized. So right now there's just no user metadata because there's no messages. Unless they're persisted. Yeah. Well, okay. And then, you know, I can sophisticate this further by, like, when you scroll down, like, load more in. That can be good for the future. Okay. It's a little bit faster. Okay. All right, I'm just going to call that fetch feed posts on feed home load, not entry. That's really good. All right, food break. What is this hashtag? Don't fucking hashtag. Alright. Guys. Guys, stop fucking around. Fucking idiots. Alright. I want to like this. I can't. I fucking like that. Alright. Okay, let's give this one last look before, and then we'll try the over-the-air update, and then we'll push it out. It's not very noticeable on the emulator, but yeah, there's like sometimes that fade out flash is kind of messed up. Where is that? I might just disable it. Where's that flash? Out of curiosity, what does this do? Okay, that was just sort of duplicative, maybe. Alright, that might have fixed that. Alright, I'll get rid of Okay, ax dupe anim. Okay, there's more I could do, but sometimes you gotta launch the thing. So let's try over-the-air update. I don't think I made any changes to the native build. So this should maybe work. Let me see if I can get this to test that this is the messed up version. So there's the messed up animation. Yeah, taking a while to click over because of it's pulling all of the feed stuff and other messages, I think. So it seems like it's like frozen because the quote unquote JavaScript thread is being tied up by the cryptographic operations. Like it eventually unfreezes. Yeah, it's just like doing a ton of stuff. Come on. Well, this is the broken version. I don't have to care about it. So, yeah, this will build the app bundle into code that it puts live. And when it's done, hopefully this should automatically. So this is the test flight version that everyone has, build 78. And like I said, I'm going to generate a new build, build 79. Done. Now hopefully in the next few seconds. Yeah, I think this is just super maybe laggy or something. Yeah, the JavaScript thread is still tied up, so I guess the update would not work. I'm going to give it a few seconds and see if it unscrews. And if not, then yeah, that's just messed up. Let's see if it unscrews when I open it. Updating, good. All right, at least there's that. Yep, logs me out. Ooh, let me think. That's going to be a problem if people haven't saved their keys. Wait a second. Aren't we rehydrating from storage? Well, the simple fix for that is to not update the persistence. Key. Let's make sure that it's the same as what I deployed previously. It's mainly needed by me for testing. I just want to confirm that the key is the same. Where is it? Lib persistence. Root 8 is what I deployed. Root 8. Oh, so I already reset it for everybody. Alright, well. Yeah, I need to refactor the login because it saves the device keys to local storage, but then there's like an onboarded flag. All right. Well, fortunately, it doesn't really matter. People can create their account in 2 seconds anyway. So, username, dibba-dibba-doo, create account. Okay. So now it only takes like a second instead of tying it up massively. And then here, yeah, I gotta display like a load spinner thing. Like this will get tied up while it's loading messages in. I should put some sort of visual indication that it's going to be laggy while it processes. Now, here's the other question. Does it do that again if I re-enter the channel? Because it's fetching the messages a second time. And I think that it is. So I'm going to go revert the logic of this to the way this was before, and to only fetch if there are no messages in the channel. But if there are messages that have been persisted, we still need to subscribe to the channel. All right, let me do this. For now, I'm just going to add a flag that says so when we swap, we're going to fetch the messages. And that flag is going to be whether we fetch or just subscribe. This should be split up, but and then in fetch messages, and we're going to set the limit to be, if we're actually fetching the messages, so that'd be 75. Otherwise, we'll just like fetch the most recent 2 messages. And we're basically doing this because we want the subscription to be active for that channel. Okay, that's inelegant, but that'll get us going. Okay, so while I test, let's generate the builds, and then we'll call out a video because I'm going to go draft up the email and send this out. See what happens. So I'll do one more over-the-air update. And then over here, I'll assume that those will work, and I'll generate the builds. And I can do 2 builds at the same time if I build one locally. So we'll do the iOS locally. And we'll build Android remotely. So that was the wrong thing. Yarn submit build Android. We'll build Android, then we'll build the APK. All right, let's see if that, I didn't even notice if this updated or not. Let's reopen it. Okay, I guess it did because it did not trigger a new update. And let's try this. Bitcoin. Yeah, that's kind of problematic. It would be one thing if it's pulling 75 messages and showing each one, but if it's pulling 75 messages and it's only rendering if only 10 of them actually belong to this channel or properly validated. But yeah, at least it's not refetching it. So that code that we just put in worked. Okay, so there's still more to do, but there's like kind of basic functionality. So I'm happy with this for now. All right, so we're going to push this out. We'll do more of these little videos here, and once this is pushed out, then we just get to be in like adding features in accordance with and smashing bugs or whatever in accordance with user feedback. So let's do it.